On tour today, outside of our normal broadcast area, and bringing you something very special and very new. Went ahead and spent an absolute fortune on a cask racking system behind me just for this video. Let's drink some whiskey. Welcome to Whiskey and Whiskey. I'm the Whiskey Chaser Brian, and we're outside of our normal means of operations today. We've taken a 40-ish minute trip southeast from Kilkenny to W.D. O'Connell Whiskey Merchants here in Kilmacthomas to visit the main man himself, Daithí O'Connell.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're not strangers to each other.
No.
We're talking about 3 brand new whiskies today, but we're really going to focus on kind of one, and we'll get to that in a minute. But for the people who are tuning in that do kind of watch this from wherever they're coming from, explain a little bit about basically your operations here, who you are, what you do.
This is W.D. O'Connell Whiskey Merchants. As the name kind of implies, we buy and sell products that we source from other parties, third parties. So basically that means we're buying whiskey or new make spirit from multiple distilleries in Ireland and abroad. The main focus on Irish whiskey, and then we bring it into our warehouse most of the time. We mature it here. We have our own bond, a duty suspended warehouse here, which allows us to be called bonders, I guess. And we're also independent bottlers, so we may buy and sell something that we might just buy something in a cask, really like it and bottle it straight away, or we might craft the whiskey like we have here today in front of us. It just really depends. So we're kind of jack of all trades, I guess, in the whiskey industry. We don't distill, but we do contract distill, so we grow our own barley and go to other small, medium-sized distilleries that are out there and get them to create new make for us. So it's we kind of dip our toe in a few different areas of the whiskey industry.
Jack of all trades, but you just don't distill.
Just don't
so
distill.
You said you have a bond, you're a bonder and an independent bottler. Now these are terms that I kind of often confuse. I'm guilty of that. I always kind of assume one is kind of the other. You just corrected me on that off camera. You said no, they're not. But give it for just roughly for people that think that a merchant, a bonder, and an independent bottler are all kind of in and around the same thing. Similarities, but big differences as well.
Yeah, well, I guess in terms of an independent bottler, you can like there's no technical or legal definition of any of these things, so anybody is free to call themselves whatever they want, really. Yeah. But I guess from within the industry, would say an independent bottler is somebody who sources whiskey and does a lot of small batch single cask whiskies, as opposed to maybe getting a mass brand out there at $25 on the shelf in the US or something, you know, that kind of way. A bonder then is somebody who has their own duty suspended warehouse. It's a tax warehouse basically that the revenue, customs and excise give them here in Ireland. And within that warehouse then they will have facilities that will allow them to empty, refill, bottle, blend, as opposed to just a warehouse. So a bonder is somebody who has all those facilities, and historically a bonder would have been a publican, really. Mainly, there were a few kind of people who wouldn't have been publicans, but wine merchants, etc., who would have been. But the publican would have had casks at the time, especially in the port towns, etc., where they would have, you know, emptied some fortified wine or something, or rum, and then they would have refilled it with the local distillate from the local distillery, and then they would have bottled that or served it in their bar, etc. So that was the historical bonder context, really. Okay,
and you're bringing that back, that reviving that amongst a few other.
It's coming back, like it's, I don't know, maybe there's 4 or 5, maybe 6 people now. I'm not really sure.
It isn't lost art.
Yeah, well, from the publican side, it's definitely gone. And that's over. So it's more about this kind of operation now, which would be much, I suppose, larger than a lot of the publicans would have been doing. We're still pretty small in the big scheme of things. Yeah. So moving on, we have 3 different whiskies that you have sourced and bottled and now ready for the market. We're not going to drink all 3 today because there's a lot of work to do after this. So which one are we going to drink? Well, I guess you've had the Bill Phil and the 10-year-old Bourbon and Rye series before, so I'd say the small batch is our latest release limited edition whiskey that's coming out, so probably focus on that one if you want to crack that one open. Well,
these 2 are part of your core range. They're always available, done in batches, obviously, but the small batch, as the name suggests, smaller numbers on a continuous basis. Walk us through a little bit about, just for example, what you intend to do with that.
Yeah, so this is the first in a series, a sherry series on the small batch that we're doing. So we're going to release, 3 or 4 5-year-old age statement whiskies over the next 12 months. This is the first one, has just been released. Have had second maturation in sherry wine butts that we sourced from Fernando de Castilla in Jerez. They're Solera butts, and then we fill them with different styles of single malt and pot still whiskey. The small batch focus will be on single malt whiskey. We fill double malt, double distilled malt, triple distilled malt, peated malt into Amontillado, Fino, Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez styles of sherry, and then we're going to just kind of release those one by one at the same ABV, 50% ABV across the board in limited edition small batches, anywhere from 800 to 1400 bottles, depending on the casks we have, to give people a bit more insight into the sherry influence from these styles of sherry, particularly Amontillado and Fino is something that
I was just going to say,
really wouldn't be familiar with. Oloroso is something, and Pedro Jimenez recently. So we're starting off with the Amontillado and the Fino, and hopefully people will kind of see the differences, and we can talk about how one is made versus the other, and the flavor influence. But they work really well with some of the malts that we have.
You did a video on your Instagram. Now, if anybody doesn't follow Dahi, his Instagram is very up to date. It is he went through an introduction into what the small batch is, so make sure you give him a follow on that. I'll leave the link down below to the Instagram. In terms of long-term projects, so this is kind of span out for the next year or so, 5 different. Any kind of hints you can give us down the road? Are going to be older age statements? And I mean, Amontillado is very rare for kind of Irish whiskey. I would say that there's not too many, and Fino, but
Amontillado is rare in general. You don't see much of it released, and it's really delicious. Really nice influence, lots of almonds, hazelnuts on it. It's a bit drier than Oloroso even, and Fino is even drier again. So you have to try and pair the right distillate with it. So I'm hoping we've done that, in the right way here with these releases, and I think people really will enjoy this Amontillado small batch. It's quite luxurious, and at 50% ABV, it has a nice punch to it, I guess. It's all going to be 5 years for these particular ones, and what we'll do is we empty the butts here behind us, and then we'll refill with new spirit again, or like maybe 3 or 4 year old whiskey again, and start the process off again. And that's kind of how it'll go, and it'll just take a bit. It's just a long process.
Yeah.
We're hoping to end up with a small batch that's a continuous release coming to market for this time next year.
Okay.
So the whole idea is this is a lead into it, and then we're going to blend different styles of whiskey together to create a core single malt small batch that it's called. So
that's a nice idea, because I don't think it gives people an introduction into the sherry side of things that they wouldn't have gotten to try previously, but you're doing it across, now correct me if I'm wrong, similar malt, similar style distillate in one, or will they?
Similar age profile, identical ABV, same distillery, Great Northern Distillery, and then we've got double distilled malt, triple
that's where it
distilled
changes a little bit,
and peated malt, but we haven't specified for anybody. We haven't tried to give people kind of preordained ideas as to what's in the bottle, so we've just said it's single malt, and you have to kind of find out yourself when you open it.
So it's a journey.
Yeah.
A sensorial journey.
Yeah, it's great.
If I use the words rightly.
Yeah, well, you're asking the wrong guy there now, but yeah, it's an exciting project, and its price point is fantastic. And again, that's a reflection of as we're growing as a business, and we're getting older, the younger whiskies that we bought are coming to fruition now, and we can offer them at keeping price points. We haven't upped the price of the bill fill or the 10 since we started. On the shelves, and this hitting the same price points. It's coming in $69.95 RRP.
Okay, that's not bad considering it's a 5-year-old age statement. It's in and around where it should be, like value-wise.
50% ABV.
And even Amontillado finish. Will we crack and try?
Let's do it.
So as I'm pouring this, maybe you want to kind of give us just one more brief overview of your price point here on new corks and all.
Yeah, so we're trying to get more sustainable in our corks, etc. So we were using natural cork and natural wood, so now we're using a kind of a recycled natural cork that's compounded together and natural wood, which is more recyclable than the natural one, funnily enough. So we have new aluminium caps on the top as well, instead to replace a sticker and a plastic heat shrink. So we've removed 2 pieces to get one. Yeah, it's all, we're getting there slowly but surely,
I love the branding. I love the colour schemes that you tend to go for across the range. I think they're standoutish. I don't know, I just kind of like that.
They're not your traditional manly whiskey, black and gold.
They're not girly either.
So.
They're not girly either.
But we used the purple in this one just kind of as a nod, because we did the sherry series, the 12 and 13 that we had done. So we said we'd keep purple as a sherry kind of influence colour. So if you ever see purple, you'll know it's that,
That's a very good idea, actually, The 12 and 13 were amongst one of my favourites in the range.
Yeah, well, they're a prime example of what an independent bottler can do in terms of find a cask. It's fantastic. Stick it in the bottle and off you go. So this one, this is a small batch, is a Amontillado cask. It's down the bottom, so all the labels will look the same, but it'll just tell you underneath this 5 what the cask is. On the back, the labels are all generic as well, and they just talk about the small batch, sherry series that we're doing, blanket, so there's no tasting notes or anything, and that's done intentionally.
Okay.
It does help us keep the price point down, funnily enough, but also it just helps people, again, like I said, have no preordained ideas about what they're experiencing. This is a journey. I'm hoping people will go on, they'll buy each of, if they like the first one, they'll buy the next one, and they'll get through them, and then they'll know where the small batch comes out next year as a core product. I was hoping to do it this year, but I just wasn't ready personally to get it done here, and when that comes out, then people will know where, you know, all the parts, the sum of the parts that make that small batch up. They've probably tried all of them, with the exception of the bourbon cask on its own, I guess.
Okay.
You know?
So this is a start. This is going to be a journey on, as you said. And what you were saying off camera before is that these are a lot of the casks.
Yeah, these are the casks we have behind us. Most of them. There's a couple around the corner on pallets still, but that's generally it.
So there's a method to my madness in doing this video here in front of these.
Yeah, they're beautiful pieces of workmanship and art, really, and that's their home now. They're going to stay sleeping there. We empty from there, and we fill into there.
Okay.
So we don't have to take them out of position. So that's
handier, because
that's their place. They live now, and that's it.
If anybody has seen people rolling casks around a warehouse and trying to get them into a rack,
they're
it's a pain in the
a
ass.
full one of those is about 600 kilos weight.
Yeah,
so
no, you don't want to be dealing with that.
It's not something for the faint-hearted.
Let's walk us through this then.
Yeah, so this is Amontillado. Amontillado is going to give you, as I said earlier, lots of like marzipan.
Yeah.
And these are things that people say about Oloroso, I guess, as well, because Amontillado is between Oloroso and Fino. So basically, this is the big brother of Oloroso, I guess, and then Oloroso comes next, and it gets less nutty. Less of the marzipan, but still a hint of it. So this is going to be more intense, a little drier. Has a lovely mouthfeel. The texture that we're getting here, it shows. Where this distillate is peated malt. We're allowed to tell people, I guess.
Yeah.
So this distillate is
And
peated malt, but don't let that put you off if you think you haven't. Oh, I don't like peated malt.
It's
whatever.
subtle. It's not. I don't find that very a pungent peated malt.
Yeah, like it smells a little smoky on the nose.
It does, yeah, for sure.
It's smoky on the palate for sure, but it has a nice luxury to it, a nice richness, a nice warmth. And you see, because it's the same distillate as Bill Fill, but basically it just wasn't in the right barrels for our Bill Fill reasons. So they're the barrels then we would have refilled into the sherry butts or the rum cask or the Marsala or whatever else we're doing in those kind of fortified wines or other cask types. And it shows how if you drink the Bill Fill, or if you have the Bill Fill then as well, you can see where the journey just goes off in a completely different direction.
Right.
There are similarities for sure, but it's the same distillate, but it doesn't taste the same in any way.
We won't compare them today. We'll just stick with this one.
No, it's just good to see this is where the journey starts, and then if you rebarrel where it can end up, you know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
If you're lucky enough to have some of those bottles, like the Marsala or the 5-year-old rum cask or the cask strengths, etc., you'll see how distillate from one distillery can go off in so many different tangents, and it doesn't matter if people are sourcing, really, like, because people are creating their own.
What they do after is kind of more so.
People are creating their own flavour profiles. You know, there's I don't think between any of us that are out there that are doing this kind of thing, between Louise, the lads in Two Stacks, myself, Morris. Like none of us
Everybody's
are doing
something
we're all
different.
doing something different. We're all doing stuff that we want to do for ourselves, really.
It's really nice on the nose. I get you do get that peat smoke. It's not full on medicinal or anything. It's a nice overlay, but it's not taken away from the spirit or the influence from the cask.
It's lovely and sweet.
Yeah, lovely and sweet. A lot of fresh fruits, and that marzipan note is there definitely.
Yeah, it'll on the palate. You'll definitely see a big change. The nose and the palate are at odds with each other.
Are they really? Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's probably a bit more smoke on the palate, I think, than you think.
Okay, well, let's try it then.
Yeah,
Sláinte. Oh yeah, straight away you do get that. It is a little bit more smoke. It's not crazy though. It's not. More nuttiness on the palate. Even the finish is a little bit drier than
the dryness coming out.
Yeah.
And that the peat and malt is sweet to begin with, so that's why they complement each other nicely. If you had quite a dry, or if you had quite a, say, heavier peat in terms of the flavour profile, more ashy, say like from a double distilled kind of peat and malt, that'd be more abrasive. I don't think it would work as well.
Okay, they're working quite nicely. They're not fighting for each other, nothing's hiding. You're getting the noses, smoke and fresh fruits, and the palate is a little bit more peatier, but it's not taking away from the finish in the cask, and certainly not taking away from the spirit itself. So
yeah, there's a lovely long finish.
Still going, yeah.
Light ash in a nice way, I guess, and light charcoal. So
take another one.
Yeah. It is cold in here now too, so trying to get the glass is really cold. Welcome to autumn in Ireland.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone can actually hear the rain pelting off the ceiling or the roof outside.
And the mouthfeel is nice.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah. which is something we try to achieve across all our whiskies every time. That we're getting mouthfeel there as it's a huge part of the process for me personally drinking whiskey. So
I've heard you
watery whiskey I just don't like.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about that before, numerous different occasions at different tastings and stuff like that. How it's that the stickler for you, and rightly so. I've heard a few people speak about that, and in some of the tastings that I've gone to, and some of the invites I've had, and some people have turned around and said, no, I don't like it, it's too thin on the palate. Like, you know what? Yeah, while the flavor profiles are there, that creaminess
it's texture.
Really needs that texture needs to be.
When you're eating, texture is important to you, and food, drinks are no different. I think.
No, I have to agree with you there, and it's something as you know.
Probably why Guinness is so popular.
Yeah. It's a great drink while you're drinking it.
Yeah, while you're drinking it.
Not so great after. So to sum up, to finish us off here, because the time is running on, but just give us a rundown. Where can we get this and the price point again, if you don't mind?
You can get it in all the usual retailers in Ireland that we always retail through in your specialist whiskey stores, and of course on our own wdoconnell.com shop.
You have them in stock online yourselves?
Have them in stock online, and you can also find the list of retailers that normally stock our products online too if you visit there.
And price point?
$69.95.
Okay, not bad for an ongoing small batch series. We hope to see more of this.
A limited edition.
And a limited
ongoing.
Small batch series is ongoing. Okay, yeah, you're right, yeah. Thanks. Some man to call people out when they're wrong, in fairness to him now, to say he wouldn't be shy of it. Look, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. It's always great coming down and seeing the place and watching you guys. Make sure I'll leave absolutely all the links down below to Daithí O'Connell's web shop, and of course his Instagram as well. Make sure you give him a follow there. Lots of interesting things coming out of Kilmacthomas in the warehouse here. So lads, from all of us here in WD O'Connell, thanks very much for joining us, and be sure to pick one up for yourselves. Slàinte.
Slàinte.